Hello, everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today, we dive deep into one of the most dramatic and audacious operations in the war so far. Ukraine rains hell on Russia and Crimea in biggest revenge strike of the war. In this video, I'll unpack the strike, how it was carried out, what made it possible, its effects, and its implications. I'll also examine what makes this strike stand out, what risks were involved, and what lessons it holds going forward. Let's get into it. When you first see footage or images of the strike, what strikes you immediately is the exterior devastation. Massive fireballs, thick plumes of smoke rising high, explosions lighting up at night, craters, destroyed infrastructure, ruptured fuel storage tanks, disrupted pipelines, and damaged military installations. The visual impact is immense, a visible message that Ukraine struck deep into Russian-held territory and hit high-value targets. The outer facades of oil terminals, fuel tank farms, storage depots, and logistical nodes are charred and half obliterated. Some structures remain standing but are scarred by blast damage. Their outer walls blasted open, roofs torn off, walls buckled, and burn marks everywhere. In many images, you see spherical fuel tanks ruptured, or their outer shells peeled back, leaking in a flame. Nearby, pipelines and conduits are twisted, melted, or severed. The ground around them is cratered, bitumen burned, and concrete torn apart. The night sky glows in several views, and the smoke is visible for miles, even from satellite imagery. Such exterior destruction communicates both the physical damage and the psychological message of power projection. Now, let's imagine the interior scene. This is where the striking story lies. Inside those fuel depots or storage complexes, you had vast caverns or tanks filled with tens of thousands of tons of petroleum, diesel, aviation fuel, or refined products. The strike likely injected explosive munitions or incendiary warheads that penetrated outer shells and ignited the fuel load. Infernos erupt within the internal volumes, triggering secondary detonations and spreading fire through interconnected pipelines, pump rooms, valving systems, control centers, and storage compartments. Across the interior, everything from piping networks, manifolds, internal supports, insulation, electrical systems, valves, pumps, sensors, and control wiring is either destroyed outright or rendered inoperable. The internal control rooms, where valves are switched, pumps are started, gauges monitored, would be gutted, with their electronic systems fried or burned out. Fire suppression systems, if present, might have been overwhelmed or disabled. Fuel lines leading to distribution nodes would be ruptured internally, meaning that even if some external piping remained intact, no flow could be maintained. The heat inside those fuel tanks and compartments would cause pressure build-ups, ruptures, and tearing from within, compounding the damage. Secondary fires would propagate through adjacent compartments, perhaps spreading to control buildings, administrative offices, workshops, or warehouse annexes. The interior damage is what ensures the terminal is not just superficially hit, but functionally incapacitated, so that it cannot be repaired quickly or reused under normal timelines. Turning to performance, this strike is a demonstration of Ukraine's improving reach, precision, and operational capability. Ukraine reportedly launched this as one of the largest drone and missile raids in recent months, targeting not only Crimea, but also parts of Russia proper. In related strikes, Ukraine claims to have launched around 250-300 aircraft or drones, striking 14 Russian regions concurrently. The Feodosia oil terminal in Crimea, one of the peninsula's largest storage and transshipment hubs, was hit hard. Russian defense authorities claimed they intercepted 251 Ukrainian drones in that campaign, but as with many such strikes, interception claims are contested and cannot fully erase evidence of successful hits visible on the ground. The performance here reveals that Ukraine is now capable of launching multi-axis, simultaneous strikes deep behind lines, integrating drones, cruise missiles, electronic warfare or jamming escorts, decoys, and spoofing to degrade Russian air defenses. The scale and tempo suggest matured logistical and command coordination. This is not a one-off raid. It's part of a sustained campaign focusing on energy and logistics infrastructure, intended to degrade Russia's supporting capacity. Indeed, in recent months, Ukraine has increasingly targeted refineries, pipelines, storage nodes, and fuel terminals to squeeze Russia's fuel supply chain. The performance of such a strike depends on intelligence, timing, redundancy, and risk mitigation, sending in decoys to overload Russian interceptors, coordinating strike packages to saturate defenses, and rehearsing paths that avoid radar coverage. Evidently, Ukraine's command and control and drone/missile logistics have reached a level where this kind of strategic sortie is now credible. Safety features in a military strike context. Safety means minimizing risk to your own forces, avoiding collateral damage where possible, and ensuring redundancy so that losses don't collapse the mission. In this strike, Ukraine likely deployed redundant systems, multiple drone types, kamikaze drones, small FPV drones, media, range loitering munitions, electronic warfare, and jamming assets to blind or confuse Russian radars and interceptors, decoy UAV to draw fire, and timing the strike during windows of low enemy readiness, e.g., night, when defenses might be less responsive. They would also have had path planning to avoid the densest air defense zones and multiple ingress routes to confuse the defenders. They may have employed sensor fusion and real-time feedback to reroute damaged drones or abort failed ones. By sending more drones than strictly necessary, they absorb losses while ensuring at least some reach the target. Air defense suppression or suppression of enemy radar seed might have been done in advance or concurrently to degrade Russia's ability to intercept. Also, careful selection of munition yield and fuse timing helps prevent collateral damage to surrounding civilian areas, though in contested zones that is always a high risk factor. What are the unique selling points of this kind of strike? Why is this strike different or noteworthy? First, scale and audacity, hitting multiple high-value targets across Crimea and Russia in one coordinated wave pushes the envelope of what Ukraine can do. It signals ambition and deterrent posture. Second, the focus on energy infrastructure is strategically smart, cripple the fuel flows and Russia's war machine slows. Third, integration of drone, missile, jamming, and decoy tactics demonstrates Ukraine's tactical innovation and operational maturity. Fourth, the symbolic messaging is strong. Striking Crimea, which Russia treats as its annexed territory, is a provocative message of resistance and reach. Fifth, the likely disruption and repair times for fuel terminals and pipelines ensure that this is not just a hit, but a lasting degradation. Sixth, the strike encourages Russia to divert resources to defend rear logistics and infrastructure, thereby stretching its forces. Seventh, the psychological and symbolic impact, both to Russian morale and to Ukraine's domestic and international audience, is powerful. It shows that Ukraine is not on the defensive, that it can retaliate deep into enemy-held zones. On price, the cost side is harder to see in open sources, but we can reason. Ukraine likely expended dozens to over 100 drones or missiles, including sophisticated loitering munitions, decoys, and jamming equipment. Each drone might cost anywhere from thousands to tens of thousands of USD or more. Missiles like cruise missiles may cost hundreds of thousands each. Add in the command, logistics, sensor, intelligence overhead, risk of losses, and maintenance. So the strike might cost millions of dollars in equipment. On the damage side, the strike likely destroyed or severely damaged fuel storage capacity measured in tens of thousands of tons, pipelines, infrastructure, control systems, and the cost of repair and restoration would be very high, likely far exceeding the cost of the munitions used. And the strategic value, fuel deprivation, logistic disruption may far outpace the raw cost. Also, the value of demonstrating capability is hard to quantify but huge. In conclusion, this strike is a milestone in the evolving asymmetric warfare in Ukraine. It demonstrates that Ukraine's strategic reach and tactical ingenuity are increasing, not just in hitting front-line positions, but in attacking the logistical lifelines that sustain Russia's operations. The external destruction is dramatic. The internal devastation is what ensures the target is functionally disabled. The performance showed sophistication and scale. Safety measures and redundancy mitigate Ukraine's losses. The unique selling points lie in strategic targeting, audacity, symbolism, and impact. The cost is substantial, but dwarfed by the damage inflicted and the message sent. This is more than revenge. It is part of a broader campaign to degrade Russian warfighting capacity and force Moscow to respond defensively. If Ukraine continues pacing such strikes, Russia must increasingly divert resources away from the front to protect its rear, which creates opportunities. But risks remain: escalation, retaliation, losses, and miscalculation. Overall, this strike raises the bar and underscores that the war's dynamics are still evolving, and that Ukraine is pushing itself to leverage technology, daring, and strategic targeting in pursuit of long-term advantage. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll keep tracking and analyzing major developments, so stay tuned.